and my boss pulled me aside one day and he was like, hey, we love you, but you no longer fit the image standards. So
Hey, this is Rory from Gym Partners. As always, we got Matt with us, the co-creator of the Gym Partners workout app. Today, our guest is Mandy Miller. She's actually our first female guest, so we're excited about that. Thank you for coming on. So, Mandy, why don't you just real quick, tell us a little about yourself, how you got into fitness, and just anything else you want to open up with.
I have had a personal trainer certification since 2018, but this is the first year I've worked full time. I've been full time training at Crunch Fitness in Baton Rouge since April of this year. I got into fitness, actually, I was a pretty late bloomer, I guess you could say, because I didn't do anything athletic growing up. Didn't play any sports or anything. I had gained the freshman 15, turned into the freshman 40. And back then I was working at Hooters and my boss pulled me aside one day and he was like, hey, we love you, but you no longer fit the image standards. So you need to lose weight or we're going to. So that gave me the kickstart, obviously. Didn't feel too good. So I just started winging it in the gym. Didn't really know what I was doing. I downloaded my Fitness Pal, just kind of watched videos here and there and started working out. And then in 2016, when the flood hit, my family lost everything. And I really started training more so for my mental health back then. And then in 2017, I started training at a gym where I met my future bodybuilding coach. He ran In-Town Fitness in Prairieville. And I started seeing the female competitors coming in and watching them train. And I also worked with a friend of mine who competed. And so I was kind of surrounded by it, and that's what inspired me. And I hired him. And in 2017, I did my first show. 2017, I did my second show. And then took I guess you could say an involuntary hiatus from 2018 to this year. And then once I started working at Crunch, I started training. I decided I was going to be an example for people. So the best advertisement is yourself, your body. And so I started training twice a day, every day. And a bunch of people started asking me if I was going to compete again. And the NPC did their first natural show in July where they tested the winners, making sure they're not taking steroids. So I really liked what that stood for. So I decided to prep myself and I competed then. I came in second. And I plan to do another show in 2023.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, for those who don't know, me and Mandy actually know each other. We went to school together. Your boss is an asshole for saying that, for one. So, if he's listening to this, don't be an asshole, man, and tell people things like that. But, at least you use that for a catalyst, to change. I've seen your journey through Instagram online, which is one of the main reasons I reached out to you because your change from back then to now is incredible. I mean, I can tell just through social media, for what it's worth, your life is completely changed, and you did it through bodybuilding, which I find really interesting. So, what would you say some of the initial hardships making that shift was, and was that comment that guy made? Was that truly is health something you had been thinking about, or was that comment what it was, or maybe you could go into that a little bit.
So he actually did it in the nicest way possible. We had Anytime Fitness behind that Hooters, and so they did an exchange. He gave them like 500 wings, and they gave me 3 free months at the gym, and that was what started it. And then I yo-yoed. Like I had lost weight, I gained weight, I lost weight, I gained weight. Also, I'm sure as you've seen through my social media, addiction was a big part of my journey. I drank every day for 10 years. And so I went back and forth. So in 2018, that was the second show I did. And that was the best I ever looked at the beginning of that year. And then, I wasn't mentally very healthy at the time. And I drank, my coach didn't know it. I drank at night, vodka and water. I told myself that would be okay. It's not, not for me anyway. And I ended up totaling my car that year, and I went 27 months without a vehicle. I gained about
Wow.
50 pounds. I kind of went on hiatus on social media during that time. It was a really dark time of my life because I went from being like, people thought I was up here and great and all this, and then I was living in so much shame and guilt. The end of 2019, I gave my life to Christ, and that was a huge, that's what changed my life, really. 2020, of course, was COVID. So I was kind of personal training on the side back then, and bartending still. And so I lost both my jobs because of, COVID. So I started running a lot, and that's what initially got a lot of the weight off. My hardest thing was just, I was my own worst enemy. I was my biggest critic. I was very hard on myself. I had a lot of bad habits that held me back. And so now I just celebrated 14 months of sobriety, continuous sobriety, yesterday. So
Congratulations. Yeah.
that's been the biggest change in my life. But fitness is huge with that. And I know at some point God's going to help me to bridge personal training and addiction recovery. I have some ideas of how I'm going to do that, but as of right now, I'm just continuing to learn as much as I can from being immersed in personal training full time. It's definitely a passion of mine. I want
Yeah.
to be
Well,
able.
I'm super happy to hear about your sobriety.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and turning to Christ, that's a great thing too for you. If that's helped you. So I think that's very relatable to a lot of people. I didn't want to, come out and tell that part of your story. I wanted you to be able to tell that. But I think it's important to hear because I think, a lot of people probably maybe living that double life their self, which, you're posting this on social media, but maybe not really living that life, that you're posting and the conflict it creates within yourself. People see this one version of you, but behind the scenes, that's not what's really going on. So again, I'm really happy for you and being able to overcome that. And I've had my own experience with addictions in the past, and I've also used fitness as a way to work through my mental problems, and really been the only thing I've ever found effective to help me in that regard. So, if what would you maybe like to say to anyone else out there who are having those type of issues, and maybe how they can get started? Just some advice on dealing with those issues, using fitness to deal with them, and maybe getting themselves out of a rut to build some momentum to get going.
Just be honest with first off, yourself. Um, you can't make a change if you can't face your own demons. And definitely be honest with the people around you. So my thing with whenever we started at Crunch, none of the trainers had clients because we all just opened the gym. So we were all fighting for people, and so it was really salesy, and I was surprised by that, or I just wasn't prepared for that. And so the first few weeks, man, I wasn't selling contracts at all. I was nervous. I was stuttering. I wasn't relating to people because I was trying to do things by the books, the way that we were instructed on how to pitch a sale. And so I through a lot of prayer and frustration and tears. I decided to just say, screw what they taught me to say, and I'm going to approach this my own way. And so I started sitting down with people and letting them know about my walkthrough addiction because I am fit. And I know that it can be intimidating to people who, maybe aren't fit or have never been worked out before, really been in that gym atmosphere. They come in and they meet with somebody who's a fit female, and they're intimidated by it. And I don't want anyone to ever be intimidated by me and think that I've had my stuff together my whole life or that I've looked like this my whole life, because I haven't. So I just came out and said, being transparent with who I am. And I started making sales and connecting with people, and I had so many women open up to me about the issues they were dealing with their mental health, with family history, with abuse, all kinds of different things. I mean, I shed tears with women the first day I met them, and it was a great bonding experience. And I've been really able to help those women through their journey more so because they were open about who they are and what they're going through. And so I just say, be open about it. Don't hide.
Yeah. I think you're an excellent role model for people because of your transparency. Online, in person, it's a beautiful thing to see, honestly. And I think that's really what people want more of. you do see so much of the phony stuff online, and to really connect with people and show an authentic version of yourself, I think is, a lot of people out there probably find that inspiring. Hopefully, anyone watching this will as well. So Matt, is there anything you would like to say? Let's, give you a chance to speak for a minute.
Oh, I've got a million questions I could ask, but I guess for starters, Mandy, just to mention really quickly, what we're doing with this podcast right now is we're kind of just, you guys obviously know each other already, but we're kind of just introducing all of our guests and kind of getting into our ecosystem so that we can hopefully have a continuing conversation, because we want to keep these things relatively short. So we won't get too much into the weeds of any particular thing today. But yeah, super inspiring story. And I guess the question I wanted to ask you was, like you said, we were super excited to have our first female guest on the show. And I think you hit the nail on the head that a lot of females, when it comes to working out, there's this sense of intimidation, just in the whole process, whether it be the diet stuff, the actual working out, like, what do I do? I'm not comfortable going to a gym. What would you say is the biggest mindset thing that you would share with maybe some females out there that are maybe, like you said, a little bit intimidated? And this is perfect because we're right coming up to that golden new year, right? What would you say if you had one or two comments to give to any of the females out there that might be listening that, not necessarily just females, just mindset stuff, like with your story, you went through a lot, it sounds like. What were those mindset pieces that even maybe to this day that you still have to use to help yourself stay motivated and to actually, do the do, so to speak?
Well, I would say for women especially, nobody's really looking at you. We all are in the gym thinking, oh, everyone's looking at me. I got to do this perfectly. I got to perform this exercise correctly. No, literally everyone's in the gym thinking the same thing. Everyone's looking at me. No one's looking at you. Just go do your thing. Find somebody that you connect with. If there's somebody that inspires you, you can watch them a little bit and mimic what they're doing. Just don't, don't let the fear of other people stop you from being your best. Most people are not paying attention to you. They're paying attention to their own fears. So,
Awesome.
also find somebody that inspires you, then reach out to them. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Most people are approachable, and then they're nice whenever you talk to them. So, I try my very best to be walking around with a smile and, welcoming to anybody who has a question. I don't know, man. Just get out there and do it.
I got one more for you now to follow up with that. So, based on the beginning of your journey to now, and I mean, obviously you're in great shape. What would you say is maybe one or two things that in the beginning you wish you would have known, as far as whether it be diet stuff, working out stuff, routine, things that in the beginning, in other words, if somebody watches this and they say, you know what, I'm inspired, I'm gonna go to the gym, can you name maybe a couple pitfalls to try to avoid for like somebody new to working out or getting into it a little more seriously?
Of course, well, we all know don't just stick to cardio. You've got to weight lift. You're not going to get the body you want if you're just walking on the treadmill. It's not going to happen. Cardio is very important. I do it almost every single day. However, you've got to weight train to get the body that you want. Carbs are not the enemy. That should be number one. God did not put rice and potatoes on this planet for us to be afraid of. Carbs are not the enemy. I eat carbs every day. There is a purpose for keto, low carb cycling. That's all important. Don't overwhelm yourself with that. Do not be afraid of rice and potatoes. Carbs before you lift heavy. If you're just doing cardio in a day and you're not lifting, then lower your carb intake that day. Also, don't overwhelm yourself with too many things at once. So when people start with me and they've never been in the gym before, I do not tell them to start dieting and lifting at the same time. Go to the gym, start working out, find what you like, repeat what you like, and then start implementing a diet. So start, cleaning up your protein, start eliminating sugars. Worry about that maybe on month 2 or 3. get in the routine of getting to the gym first. If you try to do both at the same time, you're bound to fail.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. I think that's super important, for implementing any change in your life, whether weightlifting, or just anything. Um, if you try and bite on too much at once, it's setting yourself up for failure, and then you're just back in the same vicious cycle where, it's the old tortoise and the hare story. It really is in every aspect of life. Slow and steady wins the race. Stacking these small wins, a little micro win each day over 3 months to 6 months to a year. You eventually end up to where you're at a bodybuilding competition and inspiring other people. So.
Yeah. Don't restrict yourself too much. So I actually, when I competed this year, and I coached myself this time, I told my coach, so not to knock on my coach that I had, but he really, 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 really restricted me, and it was 20 weeks. I never had a cheat meal. I mean, like one of my meals was like 8 almonds and 4 ounces of egg whites. That is literally 2 bites of food. That is not a meal. I cried all the time. I remember driving by a McDonald's, and I didn't even eat fast food. I hadn't eaten fast food in years at that point that I hired him. And I remember bursting into tears because I wanted a biscuit so bad. Like it was excruciating mentally, as well as obviously I was drained physically for 20 weeks. My body eventually kind of responded, and I got on stage and I did okay. But as soon as I was done, 30 pounds gained within a month. Because when you starve yourself for that long, your body's going to store everything as fat when you start feeding it again. So this time when I competed, I said, I'm not going to go to bed hungry. I'm not going to starve. I'm also not going to be fixated on a number. I don't have a body weight scale and I don't have a food scale. I got stage lean and literally had veins in my abs over the summer without weighing anything, myself included. I ate 8 to 10 times a day. Every time I got hungry, I ate. They were very small meals, and they were very healthy meals, but I did not let myself starve. So don't create a poor relationship with food. Just don't do that.
Can I
Don't
ask
let body tell you you need to weigh everything and count every macro. No, I mean that is a method of losing weight, but is it the best? Not at all.
Can I ask you a question on that one with the competition aspect? Because I'm kind of curious. I myself, I'm more like a math centric dude. So I actually do weigh most of my meals because I find that's like the mental kind of gate that helps me. But I don't feel restricted. It almost in a way unrestricts me, but we'll save that conversation for another podcast. But I'm curious, when you're doing that for competition, what is the mechanism that you're doing? In other words, are you starting to just say, okay, I'm not weighing, but I'm going to reduce calories kind of in a way? Or are you just adding more cardio? Or what's your strategy there if you're not weighing things
So
necessarily?
I did weigh my food for a few years. If 2017 and 2018, I weighed all the time because that's what my coach had me do. So I am fairly good at eyeballing. But so I was doing a lot of cardio. I was doing running outside. So I was sweating like three miles every other day. And then as I got closer to competition, I was increasing that and doing 2 to 3 a day for the last few weeks. But I really enjoy cardio too. Like that's my time. Like that's where I go. I pray. I listen to my worship music. That's my time to decompress. I really like that. I would to get stage ready. I was already lean. There was no crash dieting I had to do. There was no scrambling to make it to stage. I was already stage lean for at least 5 weeks prior to getting on stage. But to really, really dial it in those last couple of weeks, I cut my carb intake down, but I still kept it relatively high as compared to the diet that he had me on years back. So I would wake up, I'd have carbs for breakfast. I'd have a yogurt, a little bit of granola. I'd have a couple of rice cakes and a banana for my second meal. I would have a cup of rice for lunch, and then maybe like 3 ounces of sweet potato at 2 p.m. And then after 2 p.m., I'd cut it off. And I would just have chicken and veggies and fish and veggies for dinner. So I tapered it down. My coffee, I went to black coffee. I took the creamer out of it. It just little things I took away at the very end to dial it in for stage lean.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, Mandy, we didn't want to take up too much of your time today. Like Matt mentioned, our idea is to kind of have recurring guests, and I really enjoyed this one personally. Again, I think you have an inspiring story to tell, and you really can help a lot of people out there. So before we wrap up, why don't you tell everyone how they can find you? You said you're a personal trainer at Crunch Fitness. Maybe you tell them your Instagram handle or how they could get in touch with you if they were looking to start training with you.
Yeah, Mandy Miller Fitness on Instagram, and I have a Facebook. It's Mandy Miller, and you can find me at Crunch in Baton Rouge. I'm there. Well, I work 6 days a week, but I'm there 7 days a week because I love it. And I'm the early bird trainer, so I'm there at 4 a.m. and usually to about 4 p.m. Monday through
Which
Friday, Saturday, 7 to 12.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Y'all check her out on Instagram. She's the real deal, for real. So again, I really enjoyed this one. Matt, you got anything else before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, Mandy, this was great. Like we said, this is just the first, hopefully, of an ongoing conversation because especially with your competition experience and just your general attitude, I would definitely like to dig in deeper into some of the more specifics of the diet and workout kind of philosophy. But like we said, we don't want to be on here too long for each episode. So hopefully the next one will get just a little more detailed as far as maybe some of your diet and workout strategies and stuff like that. But yeah, super inspiring story. And thanks again. It was really great having you on here today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'll be happy to be back.